I see you found yourself a little something from my wardrobe. Not bad, not bad at all. What brings you here? You can keep it, I don't mind. I can appreciate beauty when I see it. Is it now? Well, enjoy it. Admiring the atmosphere. What about you, officer? Well, here's to you. Oh yes, let's see. He knocked on my door a few days after the lynching. I think he was going through the entire building, asking questions. Nothing. That I didn't see anything. What friend? No, I don't think it came up. Muscular, handsome, strong, like one of those military types. Oh, let me think. He had an accent. He sounded like one of those mercenaries. He sounded vaguely Oranese. No, not vaguely, scratch that. He sounded definitely Oranese. Yes, but he was speaking to someone on his earpiece. Yes, you know those tiny speaker microphones that fancy security guards sometimes wear. Just reporting back whatever I was telling him. Sure. Anything else on your mind? Bye-bye, gendarme.
The barbell waits patiently on the floor, like a dog for its master. Conjuring up an inhuman amount of strength, you raise the barbell up in the air. Your biceps tremble, but you're a savage. This is a children's game. A warm wave of accomplishment washes over your head as you drop the barbell to the floor. For a moment, it feels like you're strong enough to succeed at anything you ever set your mind to. Hey, but you're still in a ghost house. What if someone heard this? What if they know you're here?
Good technique.
This orange machine is dead still. It has a hand-cranked ice cream churner and an electric freezer. The ice around it slowly melting. Ice squeaks beneath your Kavalzund multi-tool, but your fingers slip away from the tool. The lid shutters tightly as before. And it's already unplugged. There's not much else to do other than wait for it to defrost or bulk up and get stronger. In your hands, you hold 16 Days of Coldest April by Yekaterina Dahl. The cover image shows a row of concrete apartments above which span a black and white rainbow. Indeed, the book is unusually heavy in your hands, as though the cover were lined with lead. It would do that in Grad. You flip through the book. The pages are thinner than you realized, and the type quite small and tightly set. It's nearly 600 pages long. Real art is dense and difficult. If it didn't feel like you had to wrestle a suicidal bear to get through it, you weren't really reading. The back cover is dominated by a black and white photograph of the author. She can't be much older than her mid-30s in this photograph, and yet, from this cover, the eyes of a sad old woman stare back at you. In cold, detached prose, the author describes a scene from one of the Yugograd riots in the 20s. Youths overturned motor carriages and set trash cans ablaze, while heavily armored guardsmen dash in and disperse them in a flurry of baton blows. The Yugograd riots took place from 27 to 29. Fueled by ethnic unrest and the state's repressive tactics, these events are often seen as marking the end of a brief period of liberalization known as the Yugograd Spring. Like all such periods, it is frequently memorialized in art and literature. As ethnic tensions run wild, a pair of young lovers meet each other on the street. Somehow, in the middle of all the chaos, they manage to lock arms and look into each other's eyes. It would physically hurt you to keep reading, are you sure? They go through a brief and somewhat awkward love affair, and in the end, they betray each other and succumb to the absurdity of Gradian life. The man becomes a lens grinder, completely abandoning his former existence. He toils through the daily drudgery at the Lenka polyfabricate. Happiness and fulfillment have eluded him his whole life. And, in the end, he has nothing to do but dedicate himself to the craft. She spends the next several decades standing at a conveyor in a Sosnovo fish processing plant. The smell of fish guts slowly seeps into her hair and skin as every single one of her dreams dies, one by one. The memory of their short time spent together tortures the former lovers ceaselessly until the end of their days. Years pass in solitude, their bodies growing ever more decrepit. As life leaves their remains between the soil sheets, their final thoughts are filled with regret. Medicinal purposes of the pearl. The cover, very well. First, next, you'll need to combine the Lastly, is there anything else? You've created a delicious... Would you like to try? Very well. First, next, you'll need to combine... Lastly, you've created a delicious tincture of whiskey and ginger. Would you like to try again? You close the...
You're back. Yes, let's get right to it.
His companion leans forward, ready to jump in. They're impressed that you dove right into the most advanced parts of the theory. Half an hour evaporates and the conversation is still wending its way toward new and unexpected places.
The two phenomena are actually deeply intertwined. Many inframaterialists believe that Pale is actually a manifestation of nostalgia and historical inertia. Those same theorists have hypothesized that revolution may in fact create a counterforce that prevents the Pale from expanding.
Has it gotten cold in here? Your arms seem to be covered in goose flesh.
Well, on that note, I think we can call it an evening.
No, wait. Can this really be the end? You feel like you've just gotten to the real stuff.
Yes. One of our better discussions lately, on the whole.
What do you mean, is that it? You've done the reading, we talked about it. What more do you expect from a reading group? Well, you could always ask, I guess.
We probably won't get a better chance. Honestly.
But it's getting late, so maybe pick the most important question. Come on, we have things to do in the morning.
All right, here we go. We're devoting all your available brain cells to coming up with a question about communism. Scratch that. To coming up with the question about communism. The alpha and omega of communism questions. And that question is, maybe in another life, but not this one. Face it, this is the question that's been simmering inside you all along. No, no, no. This was supposed to take your mind off the other thing. It's too late. You've already opened your mouth to speak. The young man gives you a slightly confused look, as though he's sure you asked something else and he simply misheard. No, he heard you crystal clear. Somehow, it sounded even worse out loud.
He wants to know if women are bourgeois, Stepan.
Yes, I heard him. Give me a moment. What makes you ask that question above any other? That's because your brain is floating in ideology, gendarme. It's practically drowning in it. You ask that question because you're still under the influence of ideology. That's natural. You're like a fish that's only now discovering that her whole life has been dictated by the movements of sea currents. That's what ideology is. It's like there are these invisible forces everywhere, pushing and tugging you this way and that, and you don't even know they're there. Of course it's possible, just extremely difficult. You practically have to be a world historical individual to do it. Do you know the story of Dobrova and Abadanais? The so-called revolutionary lovers, the dual commissars of revolution in Insulinda. Yulia Dobrova came from Grad. Jean Abadanais was born in Revachol. She was brilliant, charismatic, a revolutionary comet. He was her partner and stabilizer, the planet who kept her in orbit.
What became of them, though? There seems to be a blank paragraph in the history books.
It's from them we get the notion of dual leadership, the Decomptage, Revachol's truly great contribution to revolutionary thought. I believe it even persists in some form in the RCM, even to this day. They died on their own terms, like real revolutionaries. There's a lot to say for that.
I had no idea its origins went all the way back to the revolution itself, but it makes sense in a way.
Yes, that's the question you should be asking yourself.
His companion nods, but offers no further solace. The young man nods, but says nothing. He appears to be distracted by something. He's wrestling with some question of his own. He's lost in his own thoughts. You wonder what silt you've stirred in the bottom of his soul. Of course, the matchboxes. You'd very nearly forgotten to ask about them. Now may be your last chance.
So you really did read all the way to the end. Yeah, Uli and I were trying to see whether there was enough plasm between the two of us to hold up a few matchboxes.
Saying it out loud makes him realize how foolish it sounds.
It was just a little informal experiment. No reason to take it too seriously.
The young man looks at you a moment, then at his companion.
What could it hurt? All right, let's give it another go.
You know what? I'll sit this one out. I don't think you want my skeptical materialism interfering.
Before long, a modest tower begins to rise from the pile of matchboxes.
Easy, Uli.
It's holding. It's holding.
For the moment, the higher the tower goes, the quieter the room seems to become. Aside from the occasional comment, the three of you are completely absorbed by the task.
All right, you go next, Stepan.
The young man pushes back his shirt sleeves, revealing the pale flesh of his forearms.
Is it? It's holding. It's holding.
Yes, this is the closest we've ever gotten.
It's almost exactly as Nielsen's sketch imagined, a physical manifestation of the dialectical spiral of history.
All right, gendarme, your turn.
You've got this. Theories aside, they're only matchboxes. Even the lieutenant is watching intently now.
It's... My God. Is he really holding?
It is. It is.
There, in the middle of the floor, the winding spire quivers with an improbable energy.
This is impossible, right? There's no way it's really staying up like that.
But it is. It is. For a long moment, no one says a word. Even the lieutenant is transfixed.
This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And there it goes. No, it was exactly what's supposed to happen. We should treat it that way.
We should probably clean up.
Well, I think we're probably finished here, Detective.
Wait a minute, if you don't mind. We wanted to get your opinion on something. A few little changes we've been thinking about. Nothing too major, I think. We were talking potentially about relaxing some parts of our admissions process.
I thought the cloak and dagger routine made us seem more appealing.
I thought so too, but perhaps we overdid it, just a little. There was another thing. We were also debating putting up some posters around town.
Though some of us maintain that advertising is an unacceptably bourgeois tactic.
That's what makes it so beautiful. The irony is unbeatable. As a noted art cop, you definitely have an opinion on this.
Ah, it makes sense. There's already a sub-theme of radical street art running through our reading group.
I suppose that makes it a historical inevitability beyond contradiction.
Plus, I've got the perfect place in mind. Put some more coffee on, Uli. We've got a long night ahead of us. We should probably get Cindy in here too. Oh, and Gendarme. One last thing. I've been thinking about what you asked before, about women, you know? Not that it's any of my business, but it sounds like this question is really tearing you up inside.
It is tearing you up. It's like there's a tiny, hateful beast shredding your very soul.
So, good luck with that, I guess.
The trap is full of locusts, but they seem weak and unhealthy. A few lie on their backs with their legs twitching. Still, no phasmid. Poor things. It's getting late and it's snowing. Time to call it a day.
Good night, officer. We'll meet in front of the shack in the morning.
The bed is comforting, if a bit run down. Still, you've earned a rest. The place feels almost like home now, quiet and dignified around you. A new life by the seaside. You're incredibly tired. The darkness and warmth come fast. You're falling asleep.
It's easier this time. Drifting off, your head has found a comfortable indent in the pillow. Your legs and your torso feel like lead weights sinking to the bottom of the sea until they're suddenly light.
This respite, you've earned it, brother. Bask in the darkness. Let it swallow you up and swivel you around while you forget everything you've managed to remember. No, this is the one before that. We'll just keep cycling it for you if you don't mind. As long as we can. Spin it like black yarn.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
You're welcome, Harry boy. You earned it.
After centuries of darkness, the alarm rings. But what's this? You actually feel rested. There's no time to cuddle with your pillow, however, or as much as shiver from the cold. The world awaits.
Don't